our episode number 90 of our podcast.
I did about 14 years ago to set up my own business. So Oliver Sanderson was born.
To build two successful platforms, Oliver Sanderson and Snapp CV. All right, welcome back, viewers. This is our episode number 90 of our podcast series, the Young Turks Dialogues by Crobstacle. And today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Natasha. Natasha is someone, guys, that you have been asking for us in our comments and on our emails. So Natasha is the Group CEO of Oliver Sanderson Group PLC, and during her 2 decades plus of experience, today we are going to be discussing about that. So Natasha, first of all, how are you feeling to be on this podcast today?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, let's get the conversation going. So Natasha, of course I won't be able to do justice with the kind of experience you have. So first let's start with a bit of your journey, and then I will be asking my questions from that.
So, hi everyone. I'm a British Indian, but originally Sindhi origin. And I actually started my career. So, I'm a graduate from City University. I have my master's in HR from the US. And I started my career on the Hayes graduate scheme in supply chain and logistics recruitment. And then from there, became a senior manager. So 4 promotions in 4 years. And then I went to work for Michael Page. And again, I excelled and became their top biller in HR recruitment. And the last few years I worked with Michael Page, I was doing cross-selling and executive search. And then I actually decided about 14 years ago to set up my own business. So Oliver Sanderson was born, and we are actually an award-winning executive search business where we recruit interim and permanent roles across the group, across for the FTSE 100, Fortune 500, so global search across the UK, Europe, EMEA, India, and the USA. And then I also have a mobile app called Snapp CV, which is run by myself and my co-founder, Rob Bourville, which is a digital mobile job app with AI involved. And that's a really exciting part of the business. So we've got the innovation part of the business, and then we've got the executive search, which is run by myself and my director, James Lambert, who's helping me take the business on a global scale to the next level.
Wow, that's amazing. Very crisp and very hot, and giving us a lot of wisdom. So let's begin. So Natasha, you have placed top leaders across FTSE 100 companies and also built two successful platforms, Oliver Sanderson and Snapp CV. But to you, what truly makes a leader irreplaceable?
So I would say that what makes a leader irreplaceable and what we look for in the quality of our candidates when we're talking to true leaders is the fact that they inspire, they have a purpose, and they're actually authentic in their approach. And they're not just about leading from the front, they're about empowering their people. So it's really important for a leader to listen, understand, and be able to then create a legacy and a culture where people not just follow, but actually lead by example and giving them the tools to go out and become leaders themselves.
Oh, I think main thing is vision and mission. What's your take on this? Right?
Yes.
Because
I would say vision, vision and mission, but I would also say the vision and mission for a leader is also empowering people. I'd say empowerment. So it's, as a leader, you empower people.
So was there a defining moment early in your career that made you realize your mission was in leadership recruitment?
So I always had a passion from a young age, and I'm a very energetic person, and my bosses, they noticed that I had a talent for executive search, and I had an ability to spot talent from afar, and I felt as an Asian woman that I got as far as I could at Michael Page, and I loved everything I did there. But I think there was a burning sensation in me that, because from my culture, being an Asian, our culture is either you're a professional or you become a business person. And my other half at the time, Ash, who was my fiance and later my husband, who passed away just 3 years ago, he actually was a businessman. So him and quite a few of my colleagues and a lot of my clients actually said to me, why don't you set up your own business? So a lot of people said, why would you not? But a lot of people encouraged me and they said that you would be good at it. So I think at that point, I realized that I had a burning sensation to set up a business. And then I was good at what I did. And then I wanted to create something different. I wanted to create a niche brand that people could really come to and feel like, wow, we've got the right quality service. And so I felt like my mission was changing people's lives. And recruitment and executive search, you are changing people's lives because you see them evolve. And hence why I set up Oliver Sanderson.
Wow, that's awesome. So many people. So in your since the time you started a business, how many of these stories have you seen?
I've seen thousands of stories, which is why recently we've launched a podcast to talk about the stories of a C?O, where what we're going to be doing is talking to big CEOs and C-suite professionals on boards to bring the human touch, because those people inspire me to be here today. They don't just I'm inspired by the genuine stories that I've heard, which is why when you said, would you come on this podcast? I was like, yeah, 100%, because if somebody can take one learning from what I've learned, then why not?
Yeah, that is right. And why not, once your podcast is live, do share the link with us. We'll put in the description so that our audience can refer to that, because it is going to be,
100%.
R is more marketing focused. And if an entrepreneur who is a startup founder and wants to learn about, a C-suite executive experience, so they can reach out to you. So we will do that. So you have built your business around finding leaders who inspire. What's one quality you see across all the great ones?
I think that they're genuine and authentic. I think a leader cannot have a mask. So I think in the old days, people used to say you needed to be one way at work and you needed to be one way at home. And I actually think genuinely, if you are authentic and you are yourself as a leader, you will get the buy-in of your people much more, and people will follow you and be inspired by you. So I think being authentic is the key as a leader.
Besides authenticity, is there anything else you think? Authenticity is one, and that
Vision.
is one.
Yeah, so I would say to you, a leader needs to have a plan and vision. So I think the biggest thing is being authentic, being honest, but also being able to have a vision and having those values and having a goal. So as a leader, you put a business plan in place, and then it's about being authentic and then putting that vision. And then how do we get to those visions? So putting milestones of short term, medium term, long term goals. And how are we going to get there? And realizing as a leader, a business is made of people. It's not made of one individual. It's made of a combination. So your people are just as important, and you valuing those people as a leader is just as key. So putting having that vision and values, and then executing it with the right people by your side.
Got it. There is one thing that I have heard so many times, and it's all over the internet. So it is, they say when you climb the ladder, or so there is one position as manager, and then there is one position as leader. Many people can become manager, but very few are able to become a true leader. So what's your take on that?
So I think you've got to have the mindset. So I think becoming a leader is about having the shift in the mindset. So many people, which is why you'll see when, if anyone wants to tap into our podcast, is that it's leaders say, we get to a head of level, we get to a senior manager, we get to a head of, and then we think we have a fear. So if you have a fear within you, and you don't manifest that goal of, I want to get to that level, I want to get to the C-suite, how do I do it? So it is about having vision, values, but having a belief in yourself. So the biggest thing is surrounding yourself with cheerleaders. If you are a head of or a manager, how do I get to the next level? You ask yourself. So then you go and find C-suite professionals who can perhaps become a mentor to you and actually then help you shift your mindset, because my mindset has been shifted because of the people that I've surrounded myself by, and having those cheerleaders that encourage you to get to the next level. So it is not having the fear, overcoming that fear, putting a plan in place, and actually perhaps getting a coach, somebody who can help you shift that mindset. Because the biggest thing is that most people have a fear, and that is why they never get right to the C-suite. But if you can overcome that fear, you can be anything you want to be, but you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah, that is one thing. Believing in yourself. Somebody, so recently in our business also, so we were taking like a leap, very big leap. So, and soon we are going to be launching about it. So by the time this podcast will go live, it will be like. So, they asked me, uh, so let's go international and let's register our company there. And I be like, okay, but we are registered in India, and right now we are not in a position. He said, so he is like, I am like 25, he is 70. So he comes with that C level of experience. He has seen businesses he has built. So he was with Philip Morris. And then I was like, okay, but then this is way too big leap of. He told me one thing. See, if you decide to do this, do not ever look back. It will just mess up with your neck. And I was like, okay, yeah. First of all, I have to believe in yourself, and once I go further, I do not need to come back. So yeah, I realize that is important. So just tell one thing. Over the time, leadership has evolved, talent market has evolved. What's a positive shift you have seen in how companies approach hiring CXOs today compared to a decade ago when you started out?
So so before it used to be about the skill set. So you would have a job description and they would describe a skill set and they say this is what we need, and you would go out and you would headhunt candidates with those sorts of CVs and those sort of profiles. Today, a true leader is not just about a skill set. It's about looking at whether they have the right cultural fit and the right emotional intelligence. To be a leader, it takes a certain, as we said, a certain type of mindset. And it's about, are they the right cultural fit for the business? Do they have the right emotional intelligence? So it is about assessing the ability around the person spec as much as it is about assessing the skill set. Because at that level, once you get past a certain level, the technical ability of a C-suite professional is there. And that's pretty much a given. But are they the right culture fit for that particular business, for that particular vision, and those values that they're going to grow over the next 3 to 5 years? And is that what we assess? And their personality and their work ethic and their value systems, and also what they believe from a mental health and well-being. Because when you're looking at it, it's like how they lead themselves is how they will lead their people. So it's a combination now, which is very different to in the old days. I think it was more of a traditional approach to search. Today, it's more of a fresh thinking approach.
Hmm. So how do you guide boards or decision makers to look beyond the resume towards leadership potential and culture fit? Like, just tell me your perspective on that.
So we first of all will go and headhunt and map those individuals. Then
Hmm.
we have 2 to 3 hour discussions where we meet them for coffee, or if it's an international piece and we've flown into a country, or perhaps we're doing it on Teams, we will go through all their background, their experience, their skill sets, and we get to know that individual. But we then actually have psychometric testing set up, and we have an occupational psychologist that does full on testing. So we don't just do the traditional we do the traditional interview process, but we spend time with them and then we actually put them through lots of assessments and testing. So at this level, it is about that side of things. But I also think it's just genuinely about chemistry. As a recruiter, and I'm a billing CEO that I still recruit daily. As a recruiter by tradition, you have a natural feel for that individual when you're getting to know them, but you do need to go through the prerequisites, but you get a feel for their personality, their ability to take a business forward, their past experience, their current experience, their mindset, their ability to think outside of the box. How innovative are they? How different are they? How unique are they? And then is there a fit between them and your customer and your client? Does that particular business warrant that type of individual? They could be amazing, but not the right fit for this particular business, but maybe a better fit for one of my other clients. And that's the thing that as a recruiter, we assess on a daily basis, but we also spend time with them, genuine time to get to know that candidate and that individual.
Got it. And you mentioned like post pandemic. So, what do you think has changed in what top talent seeks from employers? Because with us also, what we have seen is now talent. They will say, I need flexibility. Then only I will come. I will come to office at 11. That kind of thing. So, is it flexibility? Is it purpose? Or what it is?
I'd say it's a combination. Today, it's not just about remuneration. It's not just about money. Obviously, money is one of the motivators. But most people, once you get to a certain level, especially the C-suite, um, benefits, salary, shares, those things are, they come as part of the package. So I'd say to you, it's be a combination of flexibility. It'll be a combination of the values and the culture of the business. That's really important, and the environment that's been created, but also the well-being. So what does the board and the chair, so if you're going in as a CEO or you're going in as a C-suite professional, what does the board and the shareholders view as well-being? Because now these days, mental health is just as important. Men's mental health, women's mental health, and just well-being. So how do we take care of our employees? How do we encourage them? Because as they say, a happy workforce is more productivity, which means your profit centers go up. It's just simple. So, and what's the culture? I mean, I think most people move now for vision, values, culture, flexibility, well-being, mental health. It's a combination of all of those and then the package. So it's like we look at this part and then we look at this part and then we bring that together, and if that feels right, and then genuinely, people go for a role because of the heart. I think they'll feel it. They'll just feel that this feels right. But they usually have 4 to 5 interviews before they take that role over a few month period.
Yeah, it is a very long cycle for a CX role, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Now, so talking about something that I see, still many CXOs or executives, they do not focus on is personal brand. And now, as the market transforms, things are changing, and you yourself have built a very strong personal brand. That's how we also got to found you on LinkedIn. That's how we met. So you have built a strong personal brand as a founder and as a leader as well. So what advice do you give to CXOs who are hesitant to build a personal brand and be a public voice?
So I would say to yourself, start small with some sort of consistency. So I think one, your brand that you work for will build you genuinely because you're in the C-suite. So if you work for a big brand, they will build you to a certain point because they do marketing in that space. But you as yourself, it's also about elevating you, and you as a C-suite professional. If you're able to tell your story and your journey and build your brand, even if it's just small snippets with consistency, your own people internally in your business will start growing and developing because they'll feel like you're real and you've come to life even for your people. So if you run a business and it's 10,000 or 30,000 people, you come to life for them, because how many CEOs, people think they're untouchable, they think we can't talk to them, but actually they're real people just like me and you, and they're genuine. So I think just slowly but surely, some sort of consistency of just building your brand, going onto podcasts, posting on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on the social channels that are valuable, and just being open and receptive to, if somebody says to you, hey, do you want to have a chat? Do you want to do a podcast? Or would you like to tell us a bit about your story? Even having an article written on you, just something small, or making a few quotes. That's what I would suggest.
And do you think strong employer brands attract great leaders, or is it great leaders who build unforgettable employer brands? What it is? What's your take?
I think it's a combination. I don't think you can say one or the other, because there are great brands that have had great leaders who have built the brand for, say, 3 or 4 years, and then they've moved on to some other business. And then, so I think it depends on two sorts of things. If you are working as an entrepreneur and you are the founder of a business, then yes, as the founder of the business, you build the brand to a certain point. When it gets past a certain point and then it might go public, then obviously the founders are not always necessarily the person to take the business forward to the next level. Sometimes
Right.
you bring other corporate people in. But if you're thinking about a corporate business, in the corporate world, those CEOs or those C-suite professionals, they take a brand over a 3 or 5 year, 7 year journey to a certain level. There are some CEOs that have, or C-suite or CXOs that have been in those businesses for a number of years and have grown from the ground upwards. So yes, they have helped build that brand. But there are some people in the corporate world that might have been in a business for 5 years, influenced that business, made a change, a massive transformation, and then they've gone on to do something even more amazing somewhere else. So so then it's actually the individual building the brand to a certain point, and then the brand taking itself forward as well. It's a combination. I don't think you can differentiate unless you are the founder of a business. That's very different, because the founder builds the brand to get to that level, and then obviously other people come and take over at some point.
Hmm. Right, that is true. And you mentioned in before this about posting on LinkedIn and giving quotes, but there is a lot of noise out there. Even if I talk about socials, so in today's world of having Glassdoor reviews, LinkedIn, Zoom interviews, podcasts, how can companies genuinely and authentically communicate their culture and values? Because that is something I see many of them are not able to do.
So I'd say to you that people can communicate their culture and values. I think the key to is being authentic and honest and open, but I think it's about showcasing real voices of employees. So perhaps, talking to your real employees on the ground and showing them the behind the scenes of what's going on within that organization. So actually making those values come to life. So, you might have had someone in the business who's worked on the ground for 20 years and they are that person that's been in that role every day. But if they're not there, that business doesn't stand. They are just as important as the C suite. The person who, whether they are the cleaner, whether they are the operations person, whether they are the finance person, whether they are, the team leader, every single person in an organization has a value. And when you
Yeah.
recognize that value and you respect that everybody deserves the same level of respect and the same level of love, you say hi to everyone, you smile to everyone. So if you bring those stories to life and you show that some of these people have been in the business for 20 or 30 years, they could be legacy businesses, or maybe they started on the ground floor and then they worked their way up. So I was talking to a CEO yesterday in an American business, absolutely fantastic global brand. And they said that I actually used to work on the plant floor. I've been there with the business 37 years and I was COO and then I was CEO. So for 16 years, they've been on the C-suite, but actually they've done every job in that company pretty much. And that is so much respect because that's a real story with a real voice. So if you can demonstrate stories like that, your brand will come alive and people will want to work for your business because they'll be like, wow, these people are
Yes,
really valued and they've given, that depth and breadth. But it is really about valuing your people and letting your people have a voice, a genuine voice.
that is very interesting. And I think something that people are forgetting in the world of quick exits, especially with the current ecosystem of startups, that is what is happening.
Yeah.
But yeah. So talking about going back to innovation, let's talk about Snapp CV. It was ahead of its time. You brought in Alexa integration. What inspired you to disrupt recruitment tech in such a bold way? Because it was a bold step.
Okay, so I'm going to be open and transparent. So I have grown up, I basically grew up with a gentleman who was in the tech space who ended up becoming my husband. We grew up from a young age, and Ash Daswani, he was the actual founder of Snapp CV with me. We were
Oh,
co-founders. So he listened to me talk in recruitment. So you ask me, how did a non-tech person get into the tech space? He was a tech guru and I was a recruitment guru. So what happened is we came up with the concept together and he launched the product and he did the Alexa integration. And we decided to disrupt the market with AI and that whole space in recruitment because we realized that there was a niche in the market space and we realized that we wanted to bring something different to the market space. So we launched a few years ago, and we actually we raised a round of funding of angel investment, and we got a valuation of 2.5 million. We
wow.
then unfortunately, he became my husband 10 years ago. He passed away. He passed away 3 years ago. This August is 3 years. But I've managed to continue the journey. So I've now got a new CTO called Rob Borville, who's joined us. And he is actually an award-winning CTO, has just taken another product to over 12 million, a product called Automate Legal in valuation, and he's done that in 9 months. So he's going to do the same. We're going to do the same thing with Snapp CV. But me and my husband at the time, Ash, we decided to disrupt the market space. And we felt that there was something different and we wanted to bring something different to the recruitment space, and hence why we decided to do it. So I was the face of going to get the funding and he was the background. So we made a good duo, which is
Interesting.
now what me and Rob do together. So yeah.
Yeah. You are a non-tech founder, and you must have learned so much when you started building with a tech founder, because I've seen tech people think differently, non-tech people think differently, and when you combine both of them, it becomes a masterpiece. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Go on.
So what helped you navigate the challenges of building a digital platform in a traditional space? Because when you work as founder, so there are a lot of things. So from the perspective of a non-tech founder, let's talk about that.
So I think disruption needs to have clarity. So I think the key as a non-tech founder is that, I go, well, this is a brilliant tech product, but we need to focus on what this is going to do for the market space. How is it going to change? See, I had the recruitment knowledge. He had the tech founder side of things, which is the same as Rob. So it's about what can we do differently to execute, and why are we bringing it to the market? So then why would I then be able to go and tell my clients and other people in other recruitment spaces, why would they want to buy Snapseed or use the product? And that's what I brought to the table. So I was able to say, look, this works well, this doesn't work well, and it had to be a technical product. I'm not such a technical person, but I sell a technical solution. I'm a traditional recruiter, so I had to learn to make sure it was foolproof, to be able to, if I can use it, anybody can use it. So I had to make sure that it had that ability. So as they were building the platform, it was for me to test it and my team to test it, and we had our clients testing it to look at what would be different and how. So it's recruiter proof, if that makes sense, or it's director proof in resourcing teams, in recruitment teams, in house for clients like British Airways or for clients like SGN. Or Ariva, how are they going to use this product? What is going to make a difference to their life? How is it going to ease the recruiter's job, or the head of resourcing's job, or the head of talent? How is it going to make their life easier? And that's where my non-technical background came into use, because my knowledge of recruitment, they were able to put into the platform to make it soundproof.
Got it. Interesting. What's one positive lesson you have learned from building Snapp CV? I am sure not one, but there are plenty of it. But what is that one that you would like to discuss on podcast that you would pass on to the other founders building for conventional industries?
I think the biggest thing is to believe in your product and believe in yourself. And I think the biggest thing is not to give up. So people could say, I lost my husband, and technically it was his design, and I could have gone, I'm not going to do it. But I promised him before he passed that I would do it. So I think it's about having that passion, that even when you hit a stumbling road or stumbling block, don't give up. So if you come up with a concept or an idea, it's very easy when you're bootstrapping a product together to, you have limited funds, money's not coming in. You sometimes think, well, do I do this? Do I not do this? You question yourself, you question your ability. I think the biggest thing is believe in yourself and keep going, even when you have those sleepless nights, even when it gets tough. Because many founders, they get to a certain point and then sometimes they just pull away and they go back to a career. Don't do that. Keep going, and your concept will come true. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I can see the way you have been telling things so passionate, and I'm sure it must be very hard when you lost your husband and then your business was also in such a state. So, but yes, and today here you are doing this podcast and telling that story. So I'm sure this one day this is going to be in the books of history because the kind of journey and the passion you have shown. So after a long time in on my podcast, I am seeing this kind of energy. So because I also when I start talking about the podcast topics I'm passionate about, I also go like that. So now I have a few lighter questions for you. Like, just tell
Hmm.
to our audience one leadership trait you admire the most.
Integrity.
Why?
Because I think you have to be honest and you have to have values. And I think there are many leaders out there today, most of them will have values, but if you have integrity, you will lead with honesty, and therefore I believe you will have better results long term.
Got it. One line that never fails to grab your attention in LinkedIn headline.
Building the future of leadership.
Nice. Video CVs or personal branding portfolios. What's more powerful?
I'd say to you personal branding, but I should technically say video CVs because I own Snapp CV. But I'd say a combination. I say a person, if you're in the C-suite especially, or if you are a figure that's trying to build a brand, then I think it's a combination. Video CVs are when brands like us represent you and we take you forward. But I think if you are personally representing yourself, it's your personal brand. It's a combination.
Right. An employer brand that truly walks the talk and inspires you.
I'd say to you the biggest one for me was probably British Airways. I've worked with them in the past, and they've been my client, and I've always been inspired by BA, and they've had their ups and downs over the years. But their centenary year, they rebuilt the 100 years, and the Queen, they are the airline for England. And I think, and they are known worldwide. And I think they did the 100 years where they brought the Queen and they rolled out the red carpet, and they still have that presence about them, even though they've been through some tough times in the last few years. They're still standing strong. So I think British Airways is probably one of the brands that I would say stands out for me.
God. One CXO role that still remains one of the hardest to fill, and why?
I'd say the CHRO, so the Chief Human Resources Officer. And the reason I'd say it is because it's not just about a skill set. It also requires emotional intelligence, strategic vision, and looking at the people's mindset, because they have to balance the people and the CEO, where the CEO has a commercial, the CEO, COO, they have a commercial hat on. They have to deliver the numbers. And then the CHRO has to make sure those numbers are delivered, but with the people behind that. So you have to forget that in business, we can just sit there and draw a line and look at the numbers and go, well, if we cut, we're going to make X. And 100% business have to do that sometimes, especially the big corporates. But you also have to remember that there are people behind that, and there's a story behind every person. So the CHRO has to make sure that we balance the people agenda with the commercials to get the numbers right. So you're building the right people culture, because if you upset all of your people, you have no business left. So it's a
Right,
combination of the two. So this person has to balance the chair and the CEO and the board, and then they have to balance the journey for the people agenda. So how do they bring that together? That's a really tough space to be.
right. Your most meaningful achievement with Oliver Sanderson so far?
I'd say placing FTSE 100 boardroom CEOs and CFOs, and I think just growing it to an award-winning business. I think the fact that when I started 14 years ago, I had a vision and I always wanted to do executive search, and also the fact that I'm the only Asian female CEO in the UK that owns her own search firm. So I go up against many men and many other people in other industries,
Right,
but there isn't anyone that can say what we do. So, yeah, being the only one in that space and being a voice for other women and people from other cultures and other backgrounds, whether that's men or women, being able to represent people from all backgrounds to say, hey, do you know what? If you've got a dream, I was a little girl that had a dream and a vision, and see where I am today. And I'm still going on that journey and I'm still evolving. So I think that, I made my dream come true. You can make your dream come true. So I think that's the biggest thing.
right. Rightly said. And you are really representing a lot of people, lot of voices. So let's take this podcast as if you could give your 25-year-old self one powerful advice, piece of advice, what it would be?
Not to have fear, and to say it as it is. I think when we're a lot younger, we struggle to sometimes tell people what we think, or we have a fear of being a certain way because it doesn't look right in front of our employers, or even from a personal perspective. Today, I am who I am, and this is me. Take me or leave me. I will evolve, I will change, I will take advice for sure, but I'm not frightened to be me. And I think the biggest thing is that people have a fear when you're younger to be yourself. And the biggest thing is be yourself, but do take on board what mentors and people guide you how to evolve. Don't just say that, but at the same time, be yourself. The whole way through is just be genuine.
Right, that is awesome. Finally, for founders, HR leaders, or young professionals tuning in, what's your mantra for building a business and a life of purpose?
I'd say lead with kindness, innovate with courage, and never lose sight of why. So your purpose fuels resilience, and resilience builds a legacy. So if you want to build a legacy, be resilient, keep going, and you are going to go through good and bad days. Just never give up.
Got it. And on that note, Natasha, I have covered it all. And this podcast has been amazing. Before I go to my closing line, would you like to say anything to our audience?
I'd just like to say if anyone has any questions or would like to reach out, I'm born in England, but I've been to India many times. My family are from Mumbai. So if any of you want to
Oh, wow.
reach out or ask questions, feel free to message me on LinkedIn, or connect with me through Unmol and the team. But no, I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, just believe in your dreams and keep going for it.
Thank you so much, Natasha. That was a really good closure. And on that note, first of all, thank you to our audience who have watched this episode till here. As Natasha said, please, guys, do comment your questions or send us on the email, or you can directly reach out to Natasha. We'll put her LinkedIn profile down in the description. Secondly, Natasha, thank you so much for giving us all the wisdom that you have given today on the podcast. It is very valuable. And I hope in future we do another episode that will be in person. We might do it in London or we might do it in Mumbai. So whatever it is. So, Natasha, wish you all the best with your new podcast. Do share the link with us. We'll add that in the description as well. And once again, thank you so much, everyone. We will be back again with another exciting episode on our podcast series, the Young Turk Dialogues by Crobstacle. Till then, stay tuned. Goodbye.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.